results strongly support that these beings are not closely related to any known organism. The results strongly support that these beings. The results strongly support. The results strongly support that these beings are not closely related to any known organism.
You peace in yo. You watch me groove. In the long run, track the tick tack, tack for the tack, for the composer rose for the rise. Since I'm for the okay, for the king, for the view shining like a royal bloodline for the bibliological. With the biological for the conversion to genetic lineage, your mind for the right, for the life, for the expression, for the case and the inevitable, for the faith, for the deviate, for the life of the Christ. A body, a blind side for the left to be right for the winner, for the flesh, for the word, for the manifested, for the young. Read it never for the dreaded, for the rabbi.
Are not closely related to any known organism.
You peace in yo. You watch me groove. The history is now. In the long run, track the tick tack for the tack for the tack, the composer rose for the rise. You peace in yo. You watch me groove. The history is now. In the long run, track the tick tack for the tack for the tack, for the composer rose for the rise. And since I'm for the okay, for the king, for the view shining like a royal bloodline for the bibliological. With the biological for the conversion to genetic lineage, your mind for the right, for the life, for the expression, for the case and the inevitable, for the faith, for the deviate, for the life of the Christ. A body, a blind side for the left to be right for the winner, for the flesh, for the word, for the manifested, for the young. Read it never for the dreaded, for the rabbi. Walked in for the shadows and now I lost it for the crossroad. Cross tilted to the mountaintops in the hip hop for the last stop, for the next testament, for the benevolent, for the intelligence, for the reach analysis, for the interest, to release listening, readings, and finding good. In the long run, you don't need to have that battle with me. You peace in yo. You watch me grow. The history is now. In the long run, track the tick tack, the composer rose for the rise. For the okay, for the king, for the view shining like a royal bloodline for the bibliological. With the biological for the conversion to genetic lineage, your mind for the right, for the life, for the expression, for the case and the inevitable, for the faith, for the deviate, for the life of the Christ. A body, a blind side for the left to be right for the winner, for the flesh, for the word, for the manifested, for the young. Read it never for the dreaded, for the rabbi. Walked in for the shadows and now I lost it for the crossroad. Cross tilted to the mountaintops in hip hop for the last stop, for the next testament, for the benevolent, for the intelligence, the reach and not resist, for the interest and the true belief. Me and your dreams. Hold me tight. Prove it in the valuable words and be taken for heaping, decreasing after the significantly worse. It was worse or worse for that for the poured into the rich actions that repel for such spells and that for the swell tongue. Longer than been ever, whenever we're the destiny for the beat, disunited for the destination of the universe to converse. We all said it for the harmony for the verse, and this was the right. In the history for the it was his story anyway. We couldn't find that for the version, but it was interpreted for the point of view for the never the one. For you don't want to have that, but you couldn't, didn't for the vows. Just watch time for the watching you pass, and never for the times you watch me try. Or watching well, watching whoa. Well, I'm watching when I wonder where. But when I wear for the one that pottering over thoughts, and this is ducking the bullets for the death you dodge. Not for the harmony, for the harmony, for the harm to value, for the harms and value to hurt that trust for the gift you did good. You took mine instead for this a peace, be steady for the same, for the love, for the self-love, for the vein, for the distance doesn't live here anymore, for the wishing that never came, for the disappear never for the lonely and lonely, not for I can find the loans you gained. Watch you leaving for the you ghosts who stole my happiness and clouded me with the rain for the delaying and the puddles and reflections and painful reactions. No reaction to your pain, heart for the bleeding down the drain, for the drought, for the doubt, for the this to be the gain, for the stain, for the juice to stay, for the fabricated, for the inebriated, for the enough, for the wine to the wine, the humping hum with the Wednesday, for the never answer your questions and call blocking. numbers. As if she was playing in me for the house memory, the overtime for the coaching, no strategies, no accountability for the apology, for the no apathy, for the applied after the lies, and apparently appreciated part for the occasional case. Casualty for the net, for the casualty, for the usually on. Find a gotta be, for the gotta wait, for the disobedient not to know, for the try to not that, and loosely at the both ends. The string of the melancholy for the melodies, and you play for the my hearts and strings. Yarn with the sweater for your car heart make me feel the warmer for the first hand, for the before that, for the mediocrity, for the over the media, for the premeditated, for the medicated, for the be mediocre, for the strategic. Stick me into the apologetic, for no logic, for the no memory, for the no memo, for no pen, for the never live letter, for the level, live the letter, for the heart, for the that, for the beat, would have penetrated the ejection, for the ejaculate, for the time, and prematurely, for the premature, or premiere for the prior. Practice awareness that you would wear me out of my mind. Body and spirit, what's left of me for the rights and the remorse, for the remorse codes and the mortality, for the no radicalism for me to be the matter, for the really, for the reason to find a treaty, for the me to tackling over the box and this is hookups and put the bait for the catfish and another day to kill me, rather pray. Me for the meat, for the meat, for the pescatarian, for the words to be, for the propaganda, for the proposed, the proportion, for the hanging me by the meat, for the over to the ball, so the not to show what the heads and they fall. Hangman for what you could find the letters and can't read, for what you're saying, they was all for the missing, for the vows. Alter around for the altar for the you used to, for the alternative for the native, for the distant, the alter ego, for the lacking of the words and never says that you got to find accountability. The mentality for the owner of the lambs of the trees, instead of that, for it was the mistreated for the treats of death, for the divine and sweet misery. It was missed to me for the only stimulate for the situation, for the insinuate, for the bad taste and you're giving in your mouth, for the couldn't you were stuck in slowly, for the enough for the throat, for the road, for the same testament for the men. The test that for the many, for the minuscule, minus the skull for the owner of the crown. Rose corn.
Value of words and been taken for keeping decreasing that for the significantly worse. It was worse or worth of that for the poured into the rich actions that repelled for such spells and that for the swell tongue. Hunger to mid effort whenever the destiny for the busy, that's united for the destination in the universe to converse. We all said it for the harmony for the verse, and this was the right meaning in history for the it was history anyway. We couldn't find that for the version, but it was interpreted for the point of view for the never the one. For you don't want to have that, but you couldn't, didn't for the vows. And just watch time for the watching it pass. And never for the times you watch me try. Or watching well, watching whoa. I'm watching when I wonder where. Or when aware for the one that pot ring over 1,000. This is ducking the bullets for the death you dodge. And that for the harmony, for the harmony, for the harm and value. For the harms and value that hurt that trust for the gift you just look. You took mine instead for the distant peace, be steady for the same, for the love, for the self-love is enough for the vain, for the distant doesn't live here anymore, for the wishing that never came, for the distributing never for the lonely and lonely, not for I can find the loans you gained. Watch you leaving where you go, who stole my happiness and clouded me with the rain for the land and the puddles and reflections and painful redirections. No reaction to your pain, heart for the bleeding down the drain, for the drought, for the down, for the dis, for the gain, for the stain, for the juice to stay, for the fabricated, for the inebriated, for the enough, for the wine to the wine, the humble, the Wednesday, for the never answer your questions and call, blocking numbers. As if she was playing in me for the house memory, the overtime for the coaching, no strategies and accountability, for the apology, for the no apathy, for the applied after the lies, and apparently appreciated part for the occasional case. Casualty for the net, for the casualty, for the usually on. Find a gotta be, for the gotta wait, for the disobedient not to know, for the try to not that loosely at the both ends. The string of the melancholy for the melodies, and you play for the my hearts and strings. Yarn with the sweater for your car heart made me feel the warmer for the first hand, for the before that, for the mediocrity, for the over the media, for the premeditated, for the medicated, for the be mediocre, for the strategic. Stick me into the apologetic, for no logic, for the no memory, for the no memo, for no pen, for the never live letter, for the level, live the letter, for the heart, for the that, for the beat, would have penetrated the ejection, for the ejaculate, for the time, and prematurely, for the premature, or premiere for the prior. Practice awareness that you could wear me out of my mind. Body and spirit, what's left of me for the rights and the remorse, for the remorse codes and the mortality, for the no radicalism for me to be the matter, for the really, for the reason to find a treaty, for the me to tackling over the box and this hookups and put the bait for the catfish and another day to kill me, rather pray. Me for the meat, for the meat, for the pescatarian, for the words to be, for the propaganda, for the proposed, the proportion, for the hanging me by the meat, for the over to the balls, and for the not to show what the heads and they fall. Hangman for what you could find the letters and can't read, for what you're saying, they was all for the missing, for the vows. Alter around for the altar for the you used to, for the alternative for the native, for the distant, the alter ego, for the lacking of the words and never says that you got to find accountability. The mentality for the owner of the lambs of the trees, instead of that, for it was the mistreated for the treats of death, the divine and sweet misery. It was missed to me for the only stimulate for the situation, for the insinuate, for the bad taste and you're giving in your mouth, for the couldn't you were stuck in slowly, for the enough for the throat, for the road, for the same testament for the men. The test that for the many, for the minuscule, minus the skull for the crown. Rose corn. You wanna be intimate and inanimate or intimate. It was a sentiment for that you could be sent or receiving. That does the sound. Travel fast into the now for the anyhow for the can you hear me for the this to be the guy. Forgive me for the everything for the currently today for the scribble for the this for the you can find the dialect for the people's and this orchestrated for the orchestra's teacher for ways that I can even start it for the statistic is only for the pollination for that you can have that for the fine. Democracy persuaded for the enough for the beat for the still for the death for the stuff for the buff for the disability hungover for like you can find the paparazzi for the imagination to imagine that for the capturing over your perception I can guess. And the commonality for the commencement, commentary for the needs to die anyway, for the cemented for the cremates, and that for the cemetery for the all the seam, that for the carrying of the cream, for the egg, for the this to be the crop, for the cremated, for the death, for the secret hotel, for the secret anyway, you can find it for the evil be heard, for the enough for the word, for the letterbox, for the desire, for the destination, the designated ears appears. Break down those persons, set the depth, it would be the legend, the knowledge of it, you say what for makes sense, and dude, you can find it for the colors of the ray, for the light, for the missing mark, for the rainbow, for the mist, that all for the mysteries and rivalries and archery for the die, for the heart, for the arteries, display to the safe for the what you convey, comply for the not, for the why, for the second to last letter, for the it was pertinent, for the conclusion, the miss that, for the miss that, for the misinterpretation, the preconceived, for the notions, and notarize that, for the noticing, for the no enticing words, for the intimacy, for the intimidate, that for the weak, for the strengthening, the word halfway, taking and then for the way, for the strength and the not, for the word, for the manifested, for the festivities. Abbreviate for the first letter for that was so vulnerable enough to be able for the spelling and cast those credits. That for the edit for the day, for the enslave, for the way, for the pattern, for the simulate, for the know, the simulation, the virtual reality, for the threading of awakening of the reality, for the days, that for the Z, not for the why, cause you get to be the difference in what's in slicker or the literate for the illustrate. You can be the norm for the obtuse, for the odd, and validate, for the balance of the weight, for the inpatient, for the who wait on the nurse, for the dinner, for the diner, for the serving or supper, for the supersizing combination to be colonized. Associated for the system, not for the ass to the colon. Or colon, you ate for the dictate, for the dame, for the that was the fame, for the ain't ready, for the having it over you, over the lubricate, for the that, for the taking the faith, for the making over the orgasm, for the organically had that, for the genetically modified to the fate. Coochie the hate, the fulfilling for the mandate, for the patriarchal society, for the archery. Associate for the like the ass he ate. It wasn't that for the word, for the already, for the lay, for the when you always sleeping with it, the next you waking in the morning, for you through the healer, for the devil hurt you, for the medicinal plants, that was a Lucifer, for the hallucination that helps get to that, be the properties of kingdoms, for the smart outside the gates and haters don't hate eating away, for the hating that make the hates. To taste that waste, to that back, the power through the ways. The resources that for the be disordered out for the courses of the online class. Or fake that for the consideration as if it was consideration in the place of the entitled. Entitled that for the enter, for the interns, and with the faith for trying to be wasted on the snakes and that for the manipulate for the verb, for the person, the sight, for this to be the seer. For now, the future near and near for the ear, for the hair, for the over the cornflake, for the break the fast, and that for the taking over the bowl, for the frosted snowflake, for the spoon, for the beat the morning, for the belief that for the actualizing, you can spoon me. Perpetuate for the perspective, for the objective, for the ejaculate, for the jack you off, for the peers, the coming over the later, for the never came, that for the center, do the came, to be the one for the ball, for the desert, be the impregnating, for the resigning, for what you told, that for the resonate reasons, resorters for reactions, discernment for the devil, the discriminating, for the action, just as this man, for the disability, hiding, you hate, even over the down, the screen, for the circumstance, for the excluded, for the history, for the over the accounting, of the now, for the monster, the belly, for the dancing. You find that rhythm with it, you can find it romantic. You why there are thousands, sometimes why. Other than ever, there always will we have the letters to receive the capital punishment of the spent for the punishment, no pun intended, for the retention, for the mention, and what the mended, what is recommended. Why is history repeating the future? Because we are living it now. Due to the past, if we didn't already get past it, if it already for the future, for the now, we speak for the desert travel, for the fast and now, for the anyhow, for this be the way, for the day, for the can anybody hear me, for the reflecting of the ways of we receive, the goodbye for the good day, for the became, for that, for the begotten. Is a word for the beginning, isn't technically yes. If it was technical, for the wasn't, I play for the missing of a mistake, for the giving, the deprived, the reciprocity, for the time, for the adjacent, for the I am. Adjacent word to me for the when I am sovereign. Not I'm in the garden for the Yahweh, but they anywhere there is a day. And the devil will be silent for the enough for the Yahweh, for the year. When they get today for the habit the day before, for one according to sequence. Numbering, these could count on feelings as anything. anything as now described when you have a sound for the scribbles to scribe. Reading like the syllables for the color for the red. Never, there always, and we have the letters to receive the capital punishment of what is meant for the punishment, no pun intended, for the retention, for the mentioned, and what amended, what is recommended. Why is history repeating the future? Because we are living it now. Due to the past, if we didn't already get past it, if it already for the future, for the now, we speak for the desert travel, for the fast and now, for the hand and how, for the this be the way, for the day, for the can anybody here be for the reflecting of the ways to be received, the goodbye for the good day, for the became, for that, for the begotten. A word for the beginning isn't technically yes. If it was technical for the wasn't, I play for the missing of a mistake for the giving, the deprive of the reciprocity for the time, for the adjacent word that I am. Adjacent word to me for the when I am sovereign. Adam in the garden for the Yahweh, but they anywhere there is a day. And the devil will be silent for the enough for the Yahweh, for the currently good today, for the half of the day before, for one according to sequentially. Numbering. These could count on fiddlings as anything as now described when you have a sound for the scribbles to scribe. Reading like this. And you will be there for the answers to why. And you will be there for the answers to why. There are vows and sometimes why. And you will be there for the answers to why. There are vows and sometimes why. Other than ever, there always, and we have the letters to receive the capital punishment of what is meant for the punishment, no pun intended, for the retention, for the mentioned, and what amended, what is recommended. Why is history repeating the future? Because we are living it now. Due to the past, if we didn't already get past it, if it already for the future, for the now, we speak for the desert travel, for the fast and now, for the hand and how, for the this be the way, for the day, for the can anybody here be for the reflecting of the ways that we receive, the goodbye for the good day, for the became, for that, for the begotten. It's a word for the became, and it isn't technically yes. If it was technical for the wasn't, I play for the missing of a mistake, for the giving, the deprive of the reciprocity, for the time, for the adjacent word that I am. Adjacent word to me for the when I am sovereign. Adam in the garden for the Yahweh, but they anywhere there is a day. And the devil will be silent for the enough for the Yahweh, for the currently good today, for the half of the day before, for one according to sequentially. Numbering. These could count on fiddlings as anything as now described when you have a sound for the scribbles to scribe. Reading like the syllables for the color for the red, and for the desire the rather for the color the eye to be used for the chosen to the place your wonder for the why for the oxymoronic statement for the kids wonder for the join me for the wordplay. Didn't play out that way. Out of leads, and if it was yesterday night for the lights that shut off in your dark and the right, that for the depriving of the pupils to dilate rather than the time for the becoming charted for the insubordinate for the didn't be bored, and for the eat the sub, but didn't be bored enough for the obese. It ate to play for the Plato, Socrates for the saucer for the sip, the tea for the undenied, but it's flying. It would articulate for the it was on time for the mind state. It was on play for the that for the orchestrator for the strategic for the feelings and the that for the frequencies that be the coordinator for the artificial intelligence to ignorant delays related. So much I got fired before I even started that job, but never used that clock to take me off of that job site. Handed me the quarter for the tilde, and that's paid that for the wedge, that for the hourly wage. That for the phase, to the haze, to the beast of Sunday, for the enlightened, for the inner wit, for the positive energy, for the circulator, for the calculator, for the arrival, for the hour, for the ETA estimator, for the stimulant, for the patterson that you can find it out, for the Saturn, the rings, the circumstances, and the circumstance, for the day, for the engagement, the memory, that divorce, to the force, of that was statistics. Behave. Honey would be in the trees, for the this, for the bees, and the wood, for the if, the wood, for the PI, polyamory, for the pollination, would be fine, democracy, for the demo, for the demon to be crazy, they're enough for the ignorant to be persuaded, for me to be opposed to the leather, for the rather than sway. Ground you stood on, but didn't understand where you stood, for the next to the that's the stuff, for the better life, for the world, for the ram, for the buds. Rent for the glass that fleet before every sip of the drink and another suds for the savage. The mustache for the drink, another way the pain for the drunken and it pays. For like hungover for the Christ and every Passover for the free will, for the freeway, for the overpass and passed out for the due to circulation and the circumstances till you upright as left shoulder. Learn, loan that ledge to legitimize your allegation to the 11. The boy to the buoyancy, Nazi to the paparazzi. Picture for the figmentation, for the imagination, imagine that for the capture when it was taking that for the picture, for the some distracted, for the losing of focus today, for the resolution to blur out what they wanted to say, for the owner, the perception to accept that, for the exemption, for the person that will accept that in the way, for the right to leave you, for the left out, for the middleman, for the commonality, for the commencement, comments made, for the commentary, for the needs to die, for the energy minute, for the cremate, cemeteries. Seeming that carry the egg to the east of the Sunday for the cream, for the it was made for the day, for the cremated, for the way it all the way down for the night, for the this to the secret hotel, for the secret anyway, but anyhow, anybody that willing to hear it will be heard for the rum of the word, for the this be the letter, for the inbox, for the desire, the destinies, for the designated ears of the peers that would have the opportunity to break down the word instead of who the ledger, knowledge of that was to make sense, eh? The idea that was on in the ascent to the say, for the that, for the way, for the sense, and the hat to the pie, giving to the start, for the disability, heat, to the discovery, for the colors of the ray, for the life, for the disability mark, for the rainbow, for the missing of all the mysteries and rivalries, for the archery, for the archer heart, artery, for the display. Say that for the old ones you convey, for the comply, for the what you have the season, for the second, for the last letter, for the partner. Pertinent for the conclusion, for the misstep, for the misstep was a misinterpretation, for proceed, and for the notion, for the notarized, that for the noticing, enticing words and intimacy. And you will be there for the answers to why there are thousands sometimes why.
Wait till you see what you have in store for yourself.
And you will be there for the answers to why there are thousands sometimes why. Other than ever, there always and we have the letters to receive the capital punishment of what is meant for the punishment, no pun intended, for the pretension, for the mention and what demanded, what is recommended. A wise history repeating the future because we are living it now. Due to the past, if we didn't already get past it, if it already for the future, for the now, we speak for the desert travel, for the fast and now, for the anyhow, for the this be the way, for the dead, for the can anybody hear me, for the reflecting of the ways that we receive, the goodbye, for the good day, for the became, for that, for the begotten. There's a word for the became, and it isn't technically, yes, if it was technical, but there wasn't that play for the